China construction bank system crashed, leaving staff and customers stunned. Worshipping madness? Xi's inspection in Guangxi becomes internet sensation. Experts deduce the 4 Black Swan events of the CCP in 2024. EU-China summit goes nowhere and frustrates Beijing's plans. It's all covered in today's China Truths. China construction bank system crashed, leaving staff and customers stunned. Amidst the real estate industry's debt crisis aftermath, China's financial sector faces turmoil. Recently, Industrial and Commercial Bank of China and China Construction Bank encountered successive failures, sparking concerns of a collapse. On December 18, numerous internet users reported being unable to withdraw money from China Construction Bank, both online and offline. Users expressed concerns with statements like "not good," "both branches collapsed," and shared anecdotes such as "a card unused for centuries suddenly needed today." A purported China Construction Bank staff member on Weibo claimed to be staring at customers with bewilderment. At 11 a.m. on the same day, a Guangzhou branch staff member confirmed to Chinese media that system issues were affecting transaction processing. On-site customers were advised to leave, and multiple branches recommended postponing transactions. Manual counters couldn't process cash withdrawals, and self-service machines couldn't handle account openings. CCB collapse rapidly became a trending topic on the internet, with users noting recurring system problems, saying, "Banks always have endless system problems." The specific reasons are always a mystery. Some hoped their unit could quickly disburse salaries with agricultural bank stable. Earlier this month, the Shanghai medical insurance system also crashed. Many netizens left comments revealing that due to the system collapse, crowds formed long queues to wait for payment. In addition, there have been malfunctions in Alibaba's Aliyun and Didi Chuxing systems. Alibaba Cloud experienced malfunctions on November 12 and 27. Didi Chuxing's malfunction resulted in a loss of over 10 million orders and transactions exceeding 4 billion yuan, about $560.4 million. On December 17, Industrial and Commercial Bank of China, ICBC, also faced a malfunction in its app. Numerous users posted complaints, citing issues when using ICBC's app for fund transfers. Attempts to contact ICBC customer service to report the problem were unsuccessful due to a high volume of calls. Worshipping madness? Xi's inspection in Guangxi becomes internet sensation. The personal adoration of Chinese President Xi Jinping has escalated to an almost crazy level within the context of Chinese socialist characteristics. In line with the trend of everyday items such as towels, microphones, and teacups used by Xi Jinping gaining popularity, even the sugarcane he touched during a recent inspection trip to a local area has become a phenomenon. In more detail, as reported by Xinhua News Agency on December 14, Xi Jinping visited and conducted research in Libin City, Guangxi, specifically exploring the sugarcane grove in the National Modern Agricultural Industrial Park located in the city. Following this, Xi Jinping paused in front of a sugarcane, using his left hand to touch it and taking photos as a memento. After these photos were released, many Chinese citizens also visited the sugarcane grove to touch the sugarcane that Xi Jinping had touched and to take pictures. However, due to the growing number of people congregating, the local government implemented regulations requiring individuals to queue for photos and assigning staff to manage the scene. There were also rumors that authorities appeared to have introduced a rule requiring a payment of 20 yuan, about $2.80, for taking pictures in that area. The information has garnered widespread criticism from the public. Some have commented, stating, "He has touched everything, and you all want to touch too?" This reflects a societal pathological mentality. In such a society, nobody pursues the truth, only worships power. It's apparent that Xi and his associates believe that his personal cult hasn't reached a point where he can casually distort facts, and 1.4 billion people will unquestioningly accept anything he says. According to their mindset, this absurdity will continue to escalate further. Mao's personality cult likely started in a similar manner. They've been trained to death by the Communist Party. In reality, this isn't the single case. Previously, various parts of China are showcasing items that Xi Jinping has seen or used, and the official promotion of these actions appears to be a reenactment of the Cultural Revolution era's personal adoration of Mao Zedong, but now directed towards Xi Jinping. The most extreme example is a photo showing a toilet wrapped in red cloth exhibited by a company in Chongqing. Next to it is a poster stating, "This is the toilet President Xi saw," accompanied by a photo of Xi Jinping inspecting a toilet in a residence home in Inner Mongolia, leaving the public astonished. Experts deduce the 4 Black Swan events of the CCP in 2024. The year 2023 is coming to an end, and under the black box rule of the Chinese Communist Party, the situation in China has been turbulent. Looking ahead to 2024, what unforeseen Black Swan events might unfold in China? In an interview with the Epoch Times on December 17, Mr. Su Ziyun, the director of the Institute of Strategy and Resources at the Taiwan Institute for National Defense and Security Studies, examined 4 areas where the CCP might encounter Black Swan events next year. Firstly, worsening economic problems. This led to a detrimental cycle. Xi Jinping's current unfavorable reputation and his inner circle have prompted China to gradually decouple its economy from countries like the United States. Despite the CCP's claim that it will not decouple, its actions, including the anti-spy law, have resulted in the withdrawal of foreign investment from mainland China, a spike in domestic unemployment rates, structural challenges, and a series of potential trigger points related to the CCP's pension and real estate issues. Secondly, geopolitical conflicts. CCP's relations with the United States and Europe have deteriorated, contributing to an encirclement by perceived foreign hostile forces. Despite Beijing's attempts to improve ties with Australia, the commitment to AUKUS remains firm. Japan is expected to align closely with the US, and tensions between the CCP and the Philippines may escalate due to military expansionism. Mr. Su noted that the Philippines is contemplating forming a joint patrol force with multiple countries to restrain CCP military activities in the South China Sea. In terms of geopolitics, it has become a maritime Great Wall to encircle the CCP. The CCP is throwing stones at its own feet. This is the geopolitical black swan that Beijing may face next year. Thirdly, internal strife within the CCP. This year, Ministers Qin Gang and Li Shangfu were ousted, leaving the defense minister position vacant. Whether it gets filled during the March National People's Congress will signal internal dynamics. Mr. Su expressed that Xi Jinping has a high level of insecurity, and it is reasonable to estimate that he will insist on appointing someone from his inner circle to fill the ministerial position. However, this will lead to discontent within different factions. With this ministerial vacancy for so long, the fact that it cannot be filled reflects a significant internal problem. Furthermore, Li Shangfu and Qin Gang were personally arranged by Xi Jinping at the 20th Party Congress. Other factions may have been waiting for them to take office before exposing scandals, turning them into high-level targets. This is a political maneuvering tactic, and similar situations may arise in the future. Mr. Su said that he thinks Xi Jinping will find it hard to avoid internal issues erupting next year. Fourthly, the evolution of the new coronavirus epidemic. Despite official concealment, online information suggests ongoing challenges in handling the COVID-19 pandemic, leading to overcrowded hospitals. China's ambiguity about emerging infectious diseases and lack of transparency may result in significant outbreaks, causing disasters and contributing to the accumulation of problems within the CCP regime, and will erupt one after another. He further mentioned that if these infectious diseases cannot be controlled next year, it will exacerbate the deterioration of the aforementioned areas, leading to social and political instability. The root cause of everything stems from the transition of an authoritarian state into a one-person dictatorship, giving rise to a multitude of problems. EU-China summit goes nowhere and frustrates Beijing's plans. The EU-China summit should upset China. If Beijing had hoped to blunt Washington's strident approach to China by creating a friendlier Europe, it failed. This is the argument in the article EU-China Summit Goes Nowhere and Frustrates Beijing's Plans, published December 18, written by Mr. Milton Ezrati, the chief economist for Vested, a New York-based communications firm. China and the European Union (EU) recently held their first in-person summit since 2019. According to Mr. Ezrati, the tone in 2023 certainly points to the difference 4 years can make. In place of the friendliness and calls for cooperation that emerged in 2019, recent meetings contained much tension and accusations. If Beijing had hoped to drive a wedge between Washington and Brussels at the summit, it failed. On the contrary, the meetings showed that Europe is pretty much in line with Washington's approach to China. Any memories of the earlier gathering reveal how much things have changed. 4 years ago, the meetings, replete with smiling photo opportunities, produced a 3,000-word joint statement full of promises for Sino-European cooperation on matters like steel overcapacity. There was also talk of the joint development of 5G and efforts to ease tensions in the South and East China Seas. In 2019, Brussels and Beijing both intoned support for the Minsk Accords to negotiate the differences between Russia and Ukraine and, more generally, to work together to secure human rights around the world, including in the Xinjiang region of China. Especially since just before the 2019 summit, the EU had designated China as a systemic rival, the friendly nature of that summit was taken as a strong signal of continued amity and cooperation. Compared with the tone of this recent summit, the language from 2019 sounds as if it comes from a different world. This year had none of the smiling photo opportunities of all participants. The gathering was much smaller than in the past, consisting of only 4 key players: China's top leader, Xi Jinping, Chinese Premier Li Qiang, EU European Council President Charles Michel, and European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen. While she referred to the EU as a key partner in trade and technological cooperation and asserted that the parties had no need to view each other as rivals, the Europeans pressed a considerable list of troubling economic and diplomatic issues. Even before the meetings began, the EU had already sanctioned China over alleged abuses in Xinjiang and further announced an investigation into Beijing's subsidies for electric vehicle production, something that could lead to the imposition of tariffs. Germany, the biggest economy in the EU by far, had moved toward expelling the Chinese company Huawei from its 5G network. At the summit, Ms. von der Leyen dwelt on how Europe's trade deficit with China has doubled in just the last 2 years to the equivalent of $400 billion. She blamed the flood of red ink on Beijing's practices of limiting market access to foreign companies, giving preferential treatment to domestic operations, and, in some cases, how overcapacities in China have undercut European companies. She sounded almost a perfect echo of Washington's complaints in 2018, when the Trump administration began to impose tariffs on Chinese goods, and still complains of today. Like Washington, she spoke of Europe's need to de-emphasize China trade, though she used the word de-risk, whereas Washington used the word decouple. Rather than promote amity, the Europeans went beyond trade to more sensitive diplomatic matters. Both Mr. Michel and Ms. von der Leyen pressed Xi to use his influence on Russian President Vladimir Putin to bring a quick diplomatic solution to the war in Ukraine. They each warned of irreparable damage to EU-China ties should Beijing arm Russia in that conflict or help Russia evade sanctions. They brought up human rights abuses against the Uyghurs and warned the 2 Chinese leaders against using force with Taiwan. She spoke of cooperation between his Belt and Road Initiative, BRI, and Europe's parallel plan, called Global Gateway. The Europeans remained cool, no doubt, because their plan was put into effect precisely as an alternative to China's BRI. If Beijing had hoped to blunt Washington's strident approach to China by creating a friendlier Europe, it failed. The Europeans showed themselves as suspicious of Beijing's ambitions as Washington. They echoed many of Washington's trade and investment complaints and accusations and used even stronger language about human rights and Taiwan. The summit failed to reveal Western division, as Beijing no doubt hoped it would, and instead produced an image of common Western hostility, if not unity. Don't forget to comment in the section below to share your opinions on today's topic with us. If you find the information helpful, please share this video with a friend to watch together. This will be a great source of motivation for our team to produce more and more quality and reliable videos. And also don't forget to like and subscribe to see more interesting topics from China Truths. Thank you for tuning in.